All right, in this video, we are going to solve this Accuplacer arithmetic sample test over here. Now, for the latest Accuplacer arithmetic test, there's a calculator allowed in some of the questions, but I'm going to solve this one completely without a calculator because I think the calculations are important for you to know how to do manually. And although in some questions you will be allowed a calculator to speed things up, it's good to know how to do the calculations manually. So let's get started on this one. So find the difference of 329 minus 145 rounded to the nearest 10. So let's do regular subtraction for that. I'm going to start at the right over here. So 9 minus 5 is just 4. I can't do 2 minus 4 because 2 is smaller than 4, so I need to borrow. I'm going to cancel out this 3 and turn it into a 2. I'm going to borrow this over here, so that becomes a 12. And 12 minus 4 is 8. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So subtraction of these two numbers is 184, which looks like the right solution is the third one over there. But it's important to read the question carefully because it says rounded to the nearest 10. So if I round this to the 10th digit over here, this number is below 5, which means I have to round down, which means that the final answer to this question is actually 180, which is the first choice right there. So again, make sure you read the questions carefully because sometimes there'll be a bit of extra information that may change the answer. Let's go to the second question over here. By BEDMAS, we can start by doing the division first. So I have 5 plus 2 times 7 minus 4 divided by 2 is just 2. Then I can do the multiplication next. So 2 times 7 is 14. Then I'll do addition. So 5 plus 14 is 19. And 19 minus 2 is just 17. Final answer to this second question here is just 17. Let's look at the third question. A garden measuring 15 by 24 feet is to be completely bordered by a fence. Fencing costs $2 per foot. What is the total cost to fence the entire garden? So you don't have to draw this out, but I'm going to draw it out to make it a bit easier. Let's assume this is my garden and it's 15 by 24 feet. That means this side here is also 15 and this side here is also 24. So to find the total distance of the fence, I have to do 15 plus 15 plus 24 plus 24. Now I can do this math mentally. 15 plus 15 is 30 and 24 plus 24 is 48. But if you can't do that mentally, you got to use your addition. And then 30 plus 48 is just 78. Now, this is the amount of feet for the entire fence. It costs $2 per foot, and I have 78 feet. So I'm just going to multiply this by 2. 8 times 2 is 16. I carry the 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. So my final answer is $156, which is the first option here. Again, if you look at the options, they give you $78 there. So if you don't complete the question by multiplying by the price per foot, you'll again get the wrong answer here. So really important to do these questions carefully. Next question is a simple multiplication one. We just did multiplication there. So I'm just going to follow the exact same procedure. 39 times 4. 9 times 4 is 36. And I carry the 3's. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 3 is 15. By the way, for this test, it's really important to know all your multiples between 1 and 10. It's also important to know all your squares of numbers between 1 and 10. If you know those two things, it makes this test a lot easier. Okay, let's go into the next question over here, which is division of mixed fractions. Now, the first thing we want to do whenever we have a mixed fraction is we want to convert it to a regular fraction. So 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. The denominator stays the same, which is 5. So I have 17 over 5 divided by 3 over 5. The next thing I want to do when I have division is turn it into multiplication. And I want to flip my fraction upside down. And then we want to simplify if possible. I know 5 and 5 can cancel here, and they're just left with ones. So 17 times 1 is just 17, and 1 times 3 is just 3, and that cannot be reduced any further. So my final answer is 17 over 3. But if I look at 17 over 3, it's none of the options over here, which means that I have to convert this into a mixed number because 3 of the options are mixed numbers. So to convert into a mixed number, if you can't do it mentally, you can always do long division. Although in this case, we automatically know the first option is correct because the denominator is 3. I'll still do the long division here and explain it. So 3 goes 5 times into 17. And then 3 times 5 is 15. And if I subtract that, I'm left with 2. So my solution here is this number on the top, then my remainder on the bottom, and then my divisor on the outside as a mixed fraction, which is my first option right there. But like I said, we knew that the first option was the only right option because same denominators. Although you want to make sure you match it because you can always test whether you accidentally made a mistake in the question or not. Next one is a product of two mixed fractions. So very similar, we'll convert these into regular fractions. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 7 is 16. So I have 16 over 9, and then it's product, so it's multiplied. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Denominator stays the same. Again, I can cancel the 9s and turn these into 1s. Can also cancel this 4 and this 16 and turn that into a 4 because I just divided both of them by 4. So now I have just 4 times 1 on the top, which is 4, and I have 1 times 1 on the bottom, which is 1, and 4 divided by 1 is just 4. Custom color paint is mixed by adding 1/8 gallon of coloring to 1 gallon of white base. A room requires 1.5 gallons of custom color paint. How many gallons of coloring are needed to mix with 1.5 gallons of white base? Okay, so it looks like a bit of a trickier question over here. This is a bit of a trick question because this information right here, a room requires 1.5 gallons of custom color paint, is completely pointless. And that's what makes this question so tricky because they just want you to know how many gallons of coloring are needed to mix with 1.5 gallons of white base, which means this is completely pointless here. We don't even care about the room and the size of the room. But given the white base, we just need to know how much coloring we need. So you can just cross off that statement there. And now we're going to do this using cross multiplication. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my headings, which is color and then white. So we have the coloring and we have the white base. So if you want to call it coloring as well to make it a bit more clear, you can do that. We know that we need 1/8 of a gallon for every 1 gallon of white base. And then we need to find how many gallons of coloring, X gallons, to get 1.5 gallons of white base. So basically it's 1.5 here, but I'm going to convert from a mixed fraction to a regular fraction. So 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3/2 gallons. So this is how I set it up with coloring and white. And now I'm just going to cross multiply. So when I cross multiply, x times 1 is just x. Then I'm doing 1/8 times 3/2. 1 times 3 is just 3, and 8 times 2 is just 16. So we need 3/16 gallons of coloring for 3/2 or 1.5 gallons of white base. So right answer for this one is 3/16. Again, they make this question extra complicated by adding extra information in there that may confuse you. Next question is subtraction of fractions. Whenever we add and subtract fractions, we want to make the lowest common denominator in the first step. If I look at the two numbers in the base, my lowest common denominator for these two is 18 because 6 can go into 18. So over here, I'm just going to multiply the top and bottom by 3. I don't need to multiply anything here because my denominator is already 18. So I have 5/18 minus 3/18, which is just 2/18. And then I can simplify this by dividing by 2. So it'll just give me 1/9. Okay, done with the second sheet. Let's go on to the third one. Not too bad so far, only one pretty difficult question. Next one over here is 17.32 divided by 3. So we're going to do long division for this one. 17.32 divided by 3. For long division, I always look at the left number first. Does 3 go into 1? Not possible. So then I'll look at the first two digits. 3 goes 5 times into 17. And 5 times 3 is 15. And if I subtract, 17 minus 15 is just 2. The next thing I'm going to do is, now that I've reached the decimal point, I'm going to move the decimal point up over here. And I'll bring this number down at the same time, which is what I normally do, but don't bother putting the decimal down here. You're only supposed to move it up. 3 goes 7 times into 23. 7 times 3 is 21. And if I subtract that, I'm left with 2. I'm going to bring down the 2. 3 goes 7 times again into this, minus 21. And then I'm left with 1. Now I could keep adding zeros and calculating here to see what I would get, but if I notice my answers, the answers only have 2 decimal places, and it's obvious there's no answer really close to this. It has to be 5.77 because there's nothing else anywhere close to this, and I don't have to worry about extra decimal places and rounding in this question because there's no other possible choice for my answer over here. Next question, Sarah can get an average of 27.4 miles per gallon on average, how far can Sarah drive a car on a tank full of 15 gallons? So if 1 gallon gives me this much, 15 gallons is going to give me a lot more. And I'm going to do this by multiplying these two numbers. So 27.4 multiplied by 15. So when I have decimals and I'm doing multiplication, I actually ignore the decimals and I'll add the decimals at the end of the question to make things easier. I know that in these two numbers, I have one decimal place, which means in my final answer, I will add one decimal place. So let's do my multiplication here. 4 times 5 is 20. I'm going to carry the 2. 7 times 5 is 35 plus 2 is 37. I'll carry the 3. 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3 is 13. And I'll add a 0 and I'll do my multiplications with the second number. So 4 times 1 is 4. 7 times 1 is 7. 2 times 1 is 2. That one was pretty easy. I'll add these up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 plus 4 is 11. I'll carry the 1. 3 plus 7 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. And I'll carry another 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. And then I want to add one decimal place here. So my final answer is just 411 miles, 0.0, which is basically the same as 411 miles. Next question was the sum of these two decimal numbers here. So when we're adding decimal numbers, we want to make sure to just line up the decimal points. That's really, really important. Sum means addition. So make sure you line it up exactly like this. The decimal points have to be directly above each other. Over here, I just have 5, and this is basically a 0, so this is just 5. 2 plus 9 is 11. I'll carry 1. 8 plus 3 is 11. Plus 1 is 12. I'll carry another 1, and make sure you put the decimal point in the exact same place. 7 plus 4 is 11. Plus 1 is 12. Add another 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. The right answer is 62.215. Next one, find the difference of these two numbers to the nearest integer. So make sure you read that carefully because it automatically rules out the first answer. I have a feeling that we're going to get that exact value for this question because they try to trick you like that on these tests by seeing whether you read things carefully and pay attention to detail in questions. Again, line the decimals up. I can't do 3 minus 9, so I'm going to cancel this, turn it into 5, and borrow a 1 there. So 13 minus 9 is 4. 5 minus 5 is 0. I'll put the decimal point. Can't do 2 minus 7, so I'll scratch that out, make it a 2. Turn this into 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. And 2 minus 1 is 1. What did I tell you? It's going to be that option there. But if I round this, the nearest integer, if I round this integer as whole number, if I round this to the nearest whole number, it's actually 15 because this value right here is less than 5. So I have to round down, which means the right answer here is 15. Next one here, 12% of a number n is 36. What is the value of n? So there's a couple of different ways you can do this question. You can either convert this straight from this word expression into an equation, which is the easy way to do it, but I'm going to do it using the percent formula. So value equals percent divided by 100 times total. And that's because I've been working on a student using this formula. So I want to stick with the same method. So it says 12% of a number n is 36, which means that my value is 36. My percent is 12. And 100. And I'm trying to find my total. So there's a couple of different ways you can solve this question, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cross multiply this 100 over to the other side. So 36 times 100 is 3,600. You should be able to do multiples of 10, 100, and 1,000 without a calculator, no problem. So that equals to 12t. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 12. So again, this is an easy calculation to do mentally. 36 divided by 12 is just 3, and I have 2 zeros left. Whenever you have zeros at the end, you can always do the calculation like that rather than doing long division or reducing by dividing by 2's. But you could always keep dividing by 2's and canceling the fraction till you reach 300 over 1, which is just 300. All right, third page down, only 2 more to go before we complete this test. 110% of 60 equals to blank. So again, I'm going to use the same percent formula, even though it's not needed. Value equals percent over 100 times 60. So in this question, I'm trying to find the value. The percent is 110. And the total initial value is 60 basically. So to calculate this here, the easy way is to just cancel to begin with. So I can cancel this 0 and this 0 just by dividing by tens. I can cancel this 0 and this 0 by dividing by tens. So 11 divided by 1 is just 11. So I just have 11 times 6, which is 66. A $40 jacket is on sale at 15% off. What is the sale price? So again, I'm just going to use the same formula over here. We're trying to find the value. We know that the percent is 15%. And we know that the total or the initial value is 40. So let me calculate this. I'll start by canceling the zeros over here. Then I can divide both of these by 5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. So now I have 3 over 2 times 4. I can further reduce these two by dividing by 2's. So this becomes a 1. This becomes a 2. So I have 3 divided by 1, which is just 3 times 2, which is 6. Now be careful because this is not the right answer, even though it's an option there. This is the discount. So the original price was $40. We have a discount of $6, which we're going to subtract, which means that the sale price is $34. James' class originally contained 24 students. 6 more students joined the class during the first week. What was the percent increase in the size of the class? So again, we're using the exact same formula. I'll rewrite it again for you because it's out of the screen, but value equals to percent over 100 times total. And remember, the total is also sometimes the initial value. So this can be replaced with initial value, can also be replaced with the change. So value and change are the same, and total and initial value are the same. So in this question, a class originally contained 24 students. That's my total right there. And then 6 more students joined the class. That's my value, because that's the change in the number of students. So 6 equals to P over 100 times total, and my total in this is 24. So now I have to cross multiply this over here. So 600 equals P times 24. And then I'll divide both sides by 24 to isolate the P. So 600 over 24 equals to P. Now this is a hard calculation to do, but we know that the answer is definitely a whole number. I'm just going to reduce these fractions by dividing by 2 because they're both even numbers. So it becomes 312, divide by 2 again, so 150 and 6. I'll rewrite it here so it's a bit more neat. Divide by 2 again, so 75 over 3. And then 75 divided by 3, you should be able to do that mentally. It's just 25. If you can't do it mentally, you should do long division. The right answer for that one is 25. Last question on this sheet. Which of these statements is correct? So let's go through them in order. 1 over 4 is greater than 1 over 3. So we should know that 1 over 4 is 0.25. Quarter is 0.25 and 1/3 is 0.33. This is a greater than sign. 0.25 is not greater than 0.33. So the first option is automatically false. Let's go to the second option. 0.35 is less than 0.357. That is true. 0.357 is less than 1 over 3, which is 0.33. That is false because 0.357 is greater than 0.33. So we know we can rule out the second option as well. Let's go to the third option. 0.35 is greater than 0.357. That's already false. So we know this one is definitely wrong as well, which leaves us only with the last option, but let's try it out. This is 0.25, which is less than 0.33, which is true, which is less than 0.35, which is less than 0.357. So all of the inequalities work here. All three of them work correctly, which means we know for sure that's the correct answer. All right, on to the final page of this test. What is the mixed number that is equivalent to this over here? So you can either do this mentally or you can do long division. Long division is not usually recommended when you have 2-digit numbers as a divisor, but in this case, it's pretty easy to do. 31 goes only one time into 40. So 1 times 31 is 31. I'll subtract over here. 40 minus 31 is 9. You should be able to do that mentally. So my whole number is 1. My numerator of my fraction is 9, and my denominator is 31. So what right answer is the fourth one over here. Which of these is equivalent to 2 over 5? So let's go in order from top to bottom. 4 over 5 minus 1 over 5 already has a common denominator. So I can subtract that. That's just 3 over 5, which is not that. So the first answer is definitely not right. 40% is 40 divided by 100. I can start by canceling a 0 at the end. 4/10, I can simplify by dividing by 2's. So if I divide by 2, I just have 2/5, which is basically what's given in the question. So I know that the correct answer is the second one. I don't even have to check the third and the fourth option. And last question in this test, which fraction is greater than 3/8 and less than 5/8? So this is a pretty tricky question, but I'm going to show you how to do this one. We want to try and get all these denominators to 8. If you can't do this mentally, you want to get all the denominators to an 8 to see which one is between 3 and 5. So I'll start with the first one here. To get the denominator to 8, I just have to multiply by 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and 4 times 2 is 8. 6 is not between 3 and 5. So we know the first one is ruled out. The second one, I have to divide the top and bottom to get the denominator to 8. I have to divide them by 3 because 24 divided by 3 is 8. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 24 divided by 3 is 8. 1/8 is not between these two numbers. For this one, I have to multiply by 2 to get to 8. That's 2/8, which is not between those two numbers, which only leaves us with the last option. I'm going to times by 4 on the top and bottom. 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8, and 4 is between 3 and 5, which means that the right answer is over here, which is 1/2. And that's it, the end of the test. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button, as it really helps this channel. Let me know if you want me to post more versions. This is the second version of the arithmetic test that I've posted. I already have one on my website. And if you found this helpful and you want even more tests, let me know in the comments and I will post more tests for you as well. Thank you for watching this video and hope you have a wonderful day.